and you'll make back that money you're paying them. And certainly you can find somebody in the room to be your accountability partner, and that can work to a point. But if you're serious about this business, get serious about it and hire somebody or find somebody who's going to take you to that next level. If you're a $3 million producer and you want to be a $6 million producer, that's not that hard, believe it or not, because once you've got the steps in place, it starts to roll. And what you've watched some of these people do up here is they were 7 and 8 and $10 million producers. Next thing you know, they were 20. Next thing you know, they were 30. Next thing you know, some of them were over $100 million. Those are awesome numbers. And yeah, they got all these team members sometimes that help them out, but they're being led by somebody. And yes, I'm sure Jim is holding his team accountable, but the reality of it, Jim might hold himself accountable, but a lot of other of us need someone else to maybe hold us accountable from time to time. And the coaching world, it's out there, and it's not that expensive for what you get out of it.
Hey, let me tell you, a great place to start with accountability is in your own home. You know, my mom was who I was accountable to my whole life. My parents, not wanting to let them down. You know, the old school part, there's something that's cool about being old school, because everybody's always told me I was an old spirit. Well, it's only because I respect my elders, and my parents held me accountable for my life, and they told me when I was a kid I could do anything anybody else could do, and they really believed that about me, and it made me be able to believe that about myself. You know, it shocks me. I mean, John said over 100 million. We did over 200 million this year for the first time ever, and I think it's the first time anybody in the Triangle has ever done it. And you know what? 200 million doesn't feel any different than 7 million felt. And I don't feel like I'm working any different than I did when I did 7 million. I'm just smarter about how I do things in my life now. The accountability side of it, Monday nights are my accountability. I go to BSF on Monday nights. Of course, I go to church too, but my BSF on Monday nights is my primary date in my life I don't miss. And God will put the plan back in place, because the moment you start thinking it's more about you than it is about Him, you stop getting rewards. Okay, for me in my life, I am completely blessed with more than I can ever spend as long as I live. But I am such a good steward of what I do. My team will tell you, I am more interested in what they do now in their lives. And that's, like John saying, the coaching thing. Man, coaching is so much fun. John's getting to do it in his business right now. Teaching and helping other people is so much more fun than doing it yourself. But the problem is, this old school, new school thing, a lot of people don't want to learn from experience. They would rather bust their own head against that door back there instead of letting me tell them not to. I try it with my own children right now, and you know what? They still got stitches. They still beat themselves up. But I'll just tell you, mentors in life are important, and I have a few key mentors. They didn't give me anything. That's what they did right for me. Instead of giving me stuff, they told me, it's all up to you. You got to look in a mirror every day and hold yourself accountable. There is no other accountability. If you don't carry a mirror in your pocket and look in the face when everything goes wrong and see that it's you, then you got a problem, because it's never of anybody else. It's always your fault, because it's your life. And if you're having an argument or anything else with someone else, you can step out of it anytime you choose. No matter how much they engage you, you can pull back out of it if you just get a mirror.
Kelly, final word?
To tell you the truth, I think holding my team accountable is probably the worst thing that I do. It's the worst thing that I do. I'm very self-motivated, and I don't even know why I have that competitive spirit, but I do. But I have a hard time holding other people accountable. That's my big weakness. On another subject, can I change the subject? 13 years ago, the first 14 years of my business, I was so blessed. I had Judy Floyd as my broker in charge for 4 years, and I shadowed her 100% of the time in a little company of 5 agents. And she let me watch how she did it. She did it with grace and dignity and intelligence, and ran a very wonderful business. And then Jean Smith took me on to raise in 1988, and for 10 years she was my broker. And she, if you know Jean, she's still the kind of person who speaks softly with a big stick kind of person. And that's been my role model. And then I was blessed to have Carolyn Castor in the back of the room here come on and be my leader as broker. But two quick things. Judy Floyd said to me, if you take care of the people, the money will always take care of itself. There is no truer word in real estate or any other thing that you do. And she also said, I will tell you, I was making $24,000 with Governor Hunt in 1984, and I talked to her about real estate. I said, can I make $20,000, do you think? If I jump ship and just do this on my own with, commission based? And she said, Kelly Cobb, you can make as much as you want to make. How hard are you willing to work? Just roll up your sleeves and go to work. And that's still, 30 years later, that's what we have to do every day.
Nice. Let's talk about marketing real quick. So, business plans, great. Everyone wants to talk about marketing, right? Marketing means many different things. Who here in the audience has spent a ton of money on stuff that they realize that they shouldn't have spent money on? You all should be raising your hand, because everyone has, right? Whether it's buying an iPad and giving it to your kid 5 months later because you had no idea how to use it, or buying a zip code on Zillow or any of that stuff. New school, old school, guys. Marketing, I think, is one of those things where there's a lot of divergence. What's the best marketing dollars you've ever spent? Christina?
I'll go back to what I said before. The best money I spend is on my sphere and people that I already have relationships with, but I've started really venturing and doing some different types of marketing, spending marketing dollars on technology. So first and foremost, my first thing I always focus on is, what am I going to do for my past clients, my sphere, my friends? Am I going to do a client appreciation party? What type of things are they going to get from me during the year? But then I also have the other aspect of, where can I get that cold business from, and where are those things coming from as well? So technology has been some of my best investment and some of my worst. I did this past year one of these, I won't name the name of it, but one of these high lead programs that sends you all these leads every month. And we said, let's just try it, let's do it. And we probably got, we were overwhelmed with leads. And it's very costly. And we followed up and we called and we did everything we could to try to convert these leads, and we were getting nothing. So we stuck with it for 9 months, and literally I look back and I go, 0. And I have a graph here where I looked at what brought in the business for the year, and you can see this huge spike in our sphere and our personal referrals and things, and then that small little aspect that brought nothing in. So we've tried different things. I love a lot of the places like Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com, and then some of those other things. I'll say some agents have huge successes with those cold lead programs. That's why I did it, was because one of my good friends in another market had a great experience. But for us, it just wasn't a good fit. So I think you find what works for you, and then really invest your time and energy in that.
Are you going to give up those cold leads?
Oh, we already did.
You did?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was done.
So you measured your ROI and realized that, hey, my business was killing it with the referrals.
You have to. Where does your business come from? I have to dig through here and look. When I sat down and analyzed, and you have to know, where's it coming from? And if you're spending money, is it accountable? Is it generating back the business that you need it to? And if it isn't, don't do it.
What are you using to measure those metrics, those analytics? Like, okay, not this, but I'm definitely doing this. Is it like an Excel spreadsheet? Is this?
Yeah, I'll show you. I mean, we just literally, it's nothing complicated. It's, from the year, we just looked at it and I graphed it out. When we sat down with the business plan, and it was, look, here it is. And it's amazing because this is the sphere, and these are the other, this was where the cold leads were. It's very little to nothing. So why spend those dollars? They weren't accountable. So, but yes, I do have some paper here. Yes. But yeah, that's basically it. If it doesn't get a return, don't do it.
Good.
I'm interested in, with some of the younger agents, their thoughts and experiences with Facebook, whether they think that the Facebook issue.
So the question was social media stuff.
I will tell you that the best marketing dollars I ever spent was in 2009. I spent $350, and I took an 8-week social media boot camp. And I learned, because the thing about Facebook and Twitter and all these other things is they're free tools. You have to learn how to use them and harness them and continue to learn about how they change. Physically, we've built a company because of social media.
Yep.
And so as far as my best marketing dollars, it's not a campaign that I've spent money on here or there. It is literally, it's more the time that I've spent to learn how to do those things.
What did you do specifically with the Facebooks and the Twitters of the world for your business? You know what, you could tell all these people, maybe one or two of them would do something. I'm going to challenge
Sure.
you all.
No. I think what I realized early on was, for Facebook specifically, is that was the best way to create deeper relationships with my clients. So if
you're
they
not buying ads or anything like that?
no, I didn't. We never
Yeah.
bought ads, or
Don't
we
do
didn't
that.
do any of that kind of stuff. Some people have done it and done very, very well. And there's been some changes recently to Facebook that we won't get into that. But so the relationships for me is, if a client calls and says, "Do you think my house is going to sell?" It's like, whoa, wait, what's going on? And you go onto Facebook and you see they're just living their lives online. So you see all the things that they're worried about in their life, and that gives you clues on how to respond to them. So for me, is learning how to harness that stuff was huge. There was a book that I read a few years ago that's fantastic. Gary Vaynerchuk has really easy to understand social media stuff if you want to try it. Crush It and the Thank You Economy, and then his newest one. Just look up Gary V, and you'll find anything you need to know about social media in really easy to understand kind of terms.
Do you keep it as a personal page or use it as a business page?
I only have one page. I talked to Chris earlier. She was like, "I've got 4 pages." I was like, "I can't even imagine," as scatterbrained as I am. No, I have one, and you get a little bit of personal stuff. You get a little bit of business. You get, for me, I'm not a different person at work than I am in life, and so the people who I attract and I work with, they know that if you go on Facebook, you're going to get some stuff about my family, and you're going to, my family, sometimes you're going to get some stuff about business, but for me I think people are going to work with the agents they know and trust, and if you are sort of, not living your entire life on Facebook, but you put some stuff out there, they're going to get to know you way more than, some canned bio that you have on your website.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just shutting up and paying attention.
Yeah.
2010 for me, year of the divorce. 2011 year of the everyone's getting married again, having kids, awesome, right? So I mean that's totally just about paying attention. The old schoolers, would you do something different in your marketing now that you, looking back on history, would you do something different now that you wouldn't even thought of just a couple years ago?
Well, clearly, I think for a lot of us, we would have a lot more money in our pocket because we did get trapped into spending money in lots of places that didn't produce results.
Yep.
And obviously, as the graph showed a second ago, and it's so true, is if you really look at where you spend your money, it normally is not where you're getting your best return for most people in this room, including a lot of people at the front here at some point. But it does go back to, if you don't have a big sphere or a big client base, then you got to find other ways. But if you've got that, there's no better source of business than to go right to the people who already know you and trust you and work with you and have worked with you in the past. And keep that in mind, obviously, when you're working with them. The day after closing, if you don't respond to them, that's their last memory of you.
Yep.
And I think that's the big thing that I watch a lot of people do is the day, the week, the month after closing, when there's a little hiccup, and you're not as diligent about that as you were the day before closing, they remember that because your last impression is your last impression, and that's true for every one of us and the way people treat us, and that's how they treat you. So keep that in mind, and spend your money on focusing on your past clients, on your sphere of influence, and then yes, do some marketing in your properties. But all this wild marketing, I'm not sure it really produces a lot more than ego, and you're happy to see yourself in print.
For the last 18 years, I've spent considerable money going out of this market. For 15 years, it was Star Power. And I will tell you, the year I was the top producer at $13 million at Fomble Morrissey in '95 by myself, I was ready to jump out of a window. I mean, I just was like, there has to be a better way. So whatever kind of coach situation you're in, you've got to find someone smarter than you. And in my case, out of this market, just because I wanted some fresh ideas, So I went to Star Power for 15 years. Now every year I go to CRS Celebration because the smarter minds, the brighter minds, the ones that are all over this world, really, there were 43 people in January who had come from Spain to learn, and you learn from them. So anyway, those are the dollars that I wish I had spent early on instead of waiting till 15 years into my career. And then secondly, I wish I had hired someone to handle the details that I'm not concerned about but have to be done so that I could focus on the relationships, the negotiating, the prospecting, and the closing. Because those are my strengths, those are your strengths, or you wouldn't be here today. So be sure to be thinking about that as well.
Interesting. So spending money less on things, more on people.
That's right.
Interesting.
One quick thing, write this down. The best thing I do is free. MLS, okay, after we close a transaction, we put these people on a plan. The first email they get basically says, hey, we got this new service, I can keep you abreast of your neighborhood, your subdivision, anything that comes on the market, goes under contract, we can send you an email, would you like this service? I get a 97% return rate, yes. My assistant puts them on MLS for their neighborhood. They get 57 emails that year with my face up in a piece of real estate. It costs me nothing. I see them at a party, they're like, I can't believe they listed that house for that. I'm like, I can't either. And I have no idea where they live. So, one more thing. I don't know if you guys caught this a while ago, but Jim said 200 million. Okay? I don't know if you know what that means. That means Jim's closed 2 houses since we've been sitting here. Pay a lot of attention right now.
First thing I would tell you from an expense standpoint in terms of what you invest in is branding yourself. And don't change. You have to be what you are. You don't get to be a new Jim next week or a new John next week. You have to stay consistent to what you are. So it's important that the pieces that you put in place originally always work. When I go on listings, I have a real marketing plan. Well, I developed that real marketing plan over 30 plus years of doing this, but it hasn't changed very much since about probably 1997. It really hasn't changed that much. The only things that changed is the internet. I mean, you know, once the internet became prevalent, there were things that we introduced there. But one of the smartest things I spent money on in anything I do, if you're not an expert at something, hire someone else who is. So I have a marketing manager that works with me that deals with the individual piece things every day. Oh, I can't afford that. I can't afford this. I can't afford that. That's what everybody's excuse for every reason they never sought help for anything. But the moment you stop thinking it's all about you and you realize that without help, none of us are anything, then you're going to be successful. Most real estate agents get in the way of their own success because it's about them. And, you know, as much business as I do and as much as I'm branded, everybody thinks, oh, he must be an egomaniac, or it's all got to be, you know, it's not. People who really know me will tell you I'm less that way today, that I'm more successful than I was when I was trying to get successful. You know, once you've been somewhere and you've done something, then you realize, you know what, hey, I put my pants on just like everybody else does. You know, you meet a few celebrities that you were thinking were going to be these icons and these gods you wanted to meet, and they were in the bathroom right beside you. And they were the same kind of person you were. So, you know, that's one thing I'll tell you is take the myths all off everything, but brand yourself, brand your company. Ashley's done a fabulous job for a young new agent to have branded herself as well as she has. Fabulous. The other things that she's done a great job with when I watch from the outside, I love Facebook. You know, you're talking to all the young people about it. Man, I love it. I look at it all the time. But I look at it for a different reason. I'm not trying to go get business from it. I love, because I get to watch my friend Kevin Starkey have a wonderful love with his wife and have a relationship and do other stuff. And that's what Facebook is to me. I think if we're going to exploit social media for the wrong purpose, then we're going to lose it. If we're all about what's it going to give to me, we're not going to get anything out of it. Instead, we should all share that with each other. Like, you know, when I'm on there, man, all of y'all that I'm friends with in the audience, I know more about your life than I would ever be able to know by calling you, you know, or by you taking time for me and you to get together. And this morning, I had someone, I guess they call it messaging from Facebook. Somebody messaged me this morning and said, hey, Jim, I want to talk to you about goal setting this afternoon. I said, okay, cool. Just call me.
You bring up a really good point, and if you think about it, ask your clients. Towards the end of my real estate career, which is just a year ago, I was amazed at how many of my clients were not on social media or didn't go on it enough to really care, right? So what you're going to have very soon is a lot of real estate agents on social media talking to each other. And I'm seeing a lot of that stuff now, right? Which is crazy when you think about it. So use that to hold yourself accountable. Use that to learn. Because, man, that's a great platform to be able to tap the brains of people in real time across the country. It's a great thing. You and Jim and Ashley, I think you guys have both nailed something that a lot of folks here have a hard time doing. Realtors in general are egomaniacs, right? It's hard for them to delegate. How did you learn to say, I have no idea what I'm doing. You're a better buyer's agent. Why don't you do that? Ashley, how'd you do that?
So when I first started, I thought the reason that I thought I wanted a team was way different than the reason I have a team today. And when I first started, I realized the things very quickly that I wasn't good at, and I couldn't be of great service to my clients trying to be everything to everybody. So when you go into a doctor's office, you know, if I walked in and the doctor said, let me check you in, let me check your blood pressure, okay, now I'm going to take you back and diagnose you, I would walk right out and never come back. And I think that there are a lot of realtors that try to do that and be that to their clients. They try to show the houses, be the buyer agent, be the listing agent, be the contract to close person, be the listing manager, and we expect our clients to think our service is stellar. And you're trying to be 5 different people to all your clients. And I think when you go really small, you can actually give much better service. And for me, what I am passionate about is leading and coaching and empowering people. So I just as I grew my team, I just figured out where I wanted to go small. Like what was I really passionate about in this business? So I would just tell you, you know, what part of the business do you love? Like what if you went really small and said, how do I want to service clients on a daily basis at a really high level? Because don't fool yourself. You can't do 10 things and do them all well. There is no such thing as a jack of all trades. Like there just isn't. You'll be much better if you specialize. And we all don't have to run our teams the exact same way. And you don't even have to have a team. But I think if you will delegate some of those things that maybe you're not as good at, so if you got some of the admin things off your plate, your service level as a realtor would go up, and I think your business would grow. So for me, it was just being a better me, and the team just grew from there.
Jim?
I made every mistake you could make known to man growing my business, and I learned from those mistakes, and hopefully, and I'll continue to. I wish I'd been as smart as Kelly and really gotten someone involved in helping me learn to coach. Instead, I formed all my own systems and my own programs, but they worked for me, okay? And I've learned to do those over a period of time. But looking at someone like Ashley, who's already in like the $50–60 million range, in that early in her career, she's done it because she's had processes in place and coaching more than someone like myself did. You know, those things weren't just weren't as available earlier on, but now I see the importance of it. But you know, it's tough. I mean, at a certain point, you will get to the point where there's nobody else who can relate to you. I mean, you know, there's not a lot of people that do $200 million a year in business, so there's not like a person to go, hey, can you help me with this? You don't really have that other guy to say that's been there. Okay, so while we'll incorporate young and new, I just tell you that the people, the icons that are in whatever business you're in, or the people that you see that you admire in business, pick whatever little small samples daily you can get from those people, because, listen, I do the same thing Kelly does. I go to lunch with different people every day, and during that lunch, I rarely talk. I mean, I can talk in speeches. Yeah, I can talk in speeches, I can talk in all these things, I can present well. In my personal life, I don't talk near as much as I do in my business life. I talk for a living, but in my personal life, I listen for a living, because that's where I learn the most. And if I go to lunch with a great friend of mine, and I'm sitting there I'm listening to every conversation that's going on around me at the same time, and I'm cognizant of them, because that's where your clients come from. If you go to, I eat at Boondini's a lot, I don't know if anybody knows where it is in North Raleigh, but I'll go in Boondini's and I'll sit there at the counter by myself, not talking to a soul sometimes, and just listen to all the conversations around me. And real estate's gonna be in some conversation 10 feet away from you all the time. And if you take that 3 steps it takes to get to that person and reach out your hand and say, you know what, I do this for a living. And the other thing, you gotta stay humble. I had a client 2 nights ago say to me, I know I'm just a little sprig and you're well, you know, and I actually missed my Bible study, which I don't do, to let him know that he wasn't just some little sprig, because without every sprig, we don't have any plants to grow. You gotta make every person every day feel important enough that you're not giving them your time, you're accepting the fact they're giving you theirs, because they don't have any more either. None of us have enough time. So anybody that's willing to share theirs with you, be thankful. I mean, to have this much real estate money sitting on one table, not selling a deal right this second, every person in here is sacrificing to try to help you today. And I do hope that it means that you'll do this in everybody else's life.
It's amazing how many similarities, right, there are here. Yeah, it's real estate, man. A million ways to skin a cat, just skin a cat. Questions? Anybody have any questions for any of these guys? They're here. Boom, go.
I have one, it's directed toward Ashley, but anybody can answer. You talked about how, like, on a Saturday, you tell them, I'm already busy that day. How do you go about that, being in social media, if you're friends with your clients and they see you're out on the boat?
So that's a great question. So I say I'm booked, I give them 2 other options for time. I typically don't friend them until after the listing appointment. So, and I am booked. I mean, it's
right.
not, you're not lying. I mean, I am booked. I am booked with family or with, it's just a choice I'm making. So I think we have these limiting beliefs that we can't do it. And I struggled with it for a long time. I gave up weekends in new home sales for 4 straight years, and I just made a conscious decision, and they were 4 of the greatest years of my life. But for me personally, I just made a conscious decision that it was just something I had to do in business. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first started, it was very challenging. But if you get the script down and you're confident when saying it, we create most of the objections ourselves. So the objections with commission, the objections with when the appointment's gonna happen. So just role play with somebody and be confident about it, and it'll work.
Questions?
Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Jim. One thing that has made you stand the test of time, like so many companies are going out of business and so many agents are going out of business in the last probably 5 years. Anyway.
Longevity. What has made you persevere?
I'll answer that. It's leverage for me. Yeah, right. It's leverage. I've got a high risk. I don't mind taking risk. And in the beginning of my career, I started getting assistance when people were like, you're not ready for that. Well, I was ready for it. And if there's something I don't like to do, I hire somebody to do it. So basically, I don't do much anymore.
John is so funny, and you all know he's not telling you 100% of the truth. The good news is, you know, when you've done it, we know that he's telling the truth. He's telling the truth. Oh, no, he's serious. He's telling the truth. I need to have lunch with you. You know, I love being the CEO of a company because then you get to choose if you want to take Wednesday afternoon off or a weekend off or a week off or whatever. The risk and reward are commiserate, I think. I've taken a lot of risks financially. I'm just going to tell you, in the downturn, I went through $125,000 in my reserve account to keep the team and keep the business afloat because I had planned for rain, but I had not planned for the hurricane. And the hurricane came, and when Wayne and I made the decision we were going to go through that money to keep things going because we knew there were better days ahead, and thank goodness there have been, it was the right decision, but that was a huge risk that we took. We could have just ended it all, taken that money, and just done our thing, but we didn't, and we're glad. So it's all about choice, risk, and reward.
Sure. One thing I found that has really served me well throughout my entire career, as far as going through the ups and downs within the market, I firmly and absolutely believe you will get what you focus on. You know, if you're going to sit there and read the news like we all were in 2008 and think that the sky is falling, that's what's going to happen. Your attitude that you approach things with will determine your outcome. And that is universal, and that will affect both how you view yourself and what you think your ability is or what you're capable of, but it also has a huge impact in terms of how your clients view you and interpret you and believe in you. I fully believe that.
So longevity, and obviously, we went through a downturn, and that weeded out some of the people in this business. We needed that.
Yes.
And that day will come again, and it always comes and goes. But the reason that some people left this business was some of them didn't know what they were doing. Some of them got in, and it was a little bit easy. But a lot of people who left the business left it for financial reasons. And the one thing that we all should have learned during this downturn, as our parents heard from our grandparents, or some of y'all might be great-grandparents because y'all are younger, but my parents and grandparents, my parents were living during the Depression. They were young, but the reality of it is we all learned that there is the value of the dollar. And right now, if everybody in this room would step back and think twice before you go in debt any more than you are, and try to reduce that debt, that will put you in position that when times change, if you happen to break a bone and have to take a few weeks and you're not just, can't do all what you're doing, or you need to take a couple of weeks off, if you're financially stable, then you can do what you need to do. And that's really what, talk about longevity, it's just planning and living within your reasonable means. Yes, many people in this room probably could have gone out and bought $1 million house in 2007, because the loan was pretty easy to get at the time. and I had lots of builders trying to talk me into doing that, and I didn't do it. And boy, that was a blessing, because I would have been in bankruptcy if I had, because there was no way that I could survive that sort of debt. And so that's kind of part of it, is the longevity, and put money away now, and put it in retirement accounts, and put some in savings. And don't ever touch that money unless things really get tough. And yes, just like Kelly talked about, had to pull some money out of savings, and that hurt really hard. But the reality of it is, it's what kept me and my family afloat. And for all of y'all, can do the same thing, just save some money.
Longevity for me, and I'm a pretty young guy, but this is the only industry I've been in. So since 2001, learning is from day one is anything I can learn from any industry, whether it's formal education, whether it's stuff I've learned on my own, stuff from mentors. For me, it's learning. I still do it. I still go to conferences where I learn from, like Nobu talked about, you learn from other people, you learn from other markets. I've been big lately on learning from other industries, so I try to see, maybe there's a more progressive industry than real estate, and that I take from that. The question about social media earlier, there's so much free knowledge available from really, really smart people that is just, it's so easy now. And so for me, it's about learning. Learning is my longevity. There you go.
What I would say is, this, and Kelly and John both are in the same boat. This was our third downturn in the time that I've been in business. We had one in the 80s, we had one in the 90s, and we had one in the 2000s. To be honest with you, I was better equipped to deal with this one than I was the first two. And the one that happened in the 80s to me, I was panic-stricken like everybody else, and I kind of believed them. When this one happened, I'm going to be honest, everybody talks about how bad it was. You know why it was so bad? Because we all talked about it. okay, and the media talked about it. And, you know, unfortunately now we talk about the bad things our presidents do. When we were kids, we didn't talk about all that stuff. Social media's brought a lot of that out in light. You know, Bill Clinton was responsible for a lot of us seeing the inside of a president versus the role that they do. Whatever you're doing, make sure that you know that people do see what you're doing and try not to disappoint. But for us, this little downturn we took in 08 that we call this big financial crush, okay, how was it really that bad? I mean, okay, it was not great, but you know, it wasn't that bad. I mean, if you lose 10 or 15%, that's about what we lost as a market. We lost about 15%. Okay, when we've been on a constant climb of 3.5% to 4% for this long, if we lose 15, did we really lose that much? We really didn't. It's all in perspective. Okay, right before the downturn, my best year ever was in 2006 probably. I only did like 121 million, okay? During the downturn, when everybody, I mean, but I'm saying during the downturn when everybody was talking about how horrible it was and how awful it was, we closed 154 million in 2011. And you know, so I mean, it's all relative. I mean, if you believe that it's bad, it's bad. If you believe it's good, it's good. I mean, that's one thing I heard up here a little while ago, and it's the thing that you're responsible for to your clients. You have to hold your position. You can't panic. You're the leader. Whatever size your business is, and it doesn't matter what size it is, you're the leader of that business. The captain goes down with the ship. Okay, if I had been wrong when the market was sinking in 2008, I would have drowned like everybody else because I believed enough to stay the captain of my ship. People on my team I've got people who didn't start with me until the market was down here at the collapse zone. That, you know, Laurie's an example. I took Laurie on as an agent from another company or our own internal company, and I think I grew her from 6 million to 30 plus million in 3 years, and in the downturn. So it's all about, listen, it's perspective. It's where you are in whatever you're in. That's you won't talk to any entrepreneur anywhere that's going to say that they didn't do better when times were down. That's when the leaders gain. Okay. I gained a lot of ground on everybody else the last 3 years because everybody else was crying about what they're going to lose. You can't worry about what you're losing because you don't own it. God does. God enables and gives to every one of us every day. When you think it's yours, that's when you're going to lose it. It's not yours.
And with that, okay, focus, plan, set expectations, learn how to delegate. Be goal-oriented, be consumer-centric. MLS is marketing, which is, to me, I think it's awesome. Right? Telling people what is pending and sold in their neighborhoods is huge. Specialize, keep learning, be out there. Give these guys a hand, guys. Take these guys out to lunch, right? They drink beer, right? Everything's good. Thank you all for being here. Kevin, sponsors, Matt, all you guys, thank you very much.